whatever is. And we must never forget that with God, all things are possible. So, and to honor him, I just wanted to read Psalm 145, 3 and 4. It says, "Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts." And then a word of caution to us from Isaiah 5:20 is that woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. And it goes on with that. So I would like to just quickly ask you, so the Board of Elections is under your umbrella, and 2 are elected by the Democrats and 2 from the Republicans. And may I ask you, are you a registered Democrat, Republican, or other?
This is not the question and answer section of the meeting.
Okay.
This is for you to come up and make comments.
Gotcha.
So
I'll do that later.
If somebody wants to ask that after the meeting's over, that'll be fine.
Election integrity, I'm going to beat the drum, is of the utmost importance. We lose our country, and we don't get rid of our Dominion voting machines. There's another issue of equal importance, which is intertwined with election integrity, and that is COVID-19. The result of it are the deaths and injuries occurring before our eyes caused by the COVID-19 experimental vaccines, along with the person in the Oval Office that is not duly elected. Through October 8th, the VAERS website shows 16,766 vaccine deaths, total of 25,799 reported deaths there, but they've distinguished that only 16 were from the COVID. Adverse events, 798,634 on that website. I've learned that the COVID-19 experimental vaccine kills and injures. Experimental COVID-19 vaccine has always been the end game of COVID-19. Follow the money, follow the patents. It is investigational and experimental people, not animals, but people. The spike protein injures the vascular system, causing the body to attack itself continuously. It's an experiment. With any type of medical experiment, informed consent must take place per the Nuremberg Code. But information is being suppressed. People are being lied to. Just check out City Hall. And had we not had the pandemic, the massive amounts of mail-in ballots and many election irregularities that took place across the United States never would have happened. The 2020 election needs to be fixed. I informed the Elections Board, again, which is under, I believe, the County Commissioner's umbrella, since he appoints the chairwoman, at the October 13th Board of Elections meeting. Only 4 citizens were in attendance. Meetings are not posted on the website. When I asked why, Ms. Stevens responded that, well, that was in the January's newspaper. I requested a forensic audit, but was denied. We know Dominion machines are connected to the internet. I want to thank voterga.org for filing their lawsuit. Current machines accumulate votes in QR codes. They're not verifiable or readable by the voter. Georgia law requires an elector verifiable paper ballot in human readable text. That is why Judge Totenberg in a United States District Court ruled that this equipment is in violation of 2 Georgia laws back on October 11, 2020, a year ago. Yes, that was 3 weeks prior to the November election. We voted on illegal machines, according to a United States District Court. As long as we are using the Dominion machines, how can we have faith in the electoral process? Moving forward, we still have the machines. Early voting has begun for TSPLOST. In Tuesday's North Georgia News, it was reported that there was an issue with the Dominion tabulator, and the Board of Elections had to bring the registrar's office a new machine. Sounds fishy to me. I'm already skeptical. TSPLOST could be very well passed in Union County on these machines. I would like to have a forensic audit of that election too, wouldn't you? Especially if our citizens vote more taxes upon themselves. By the way, TSPLOST has been put on the ballot by our city officials and by the Stoll Commissioner, and from my knowledge, very little citizen discussion. How much will it cost our county to run this election is the only thing we're going to be voting on. The GOP Republican meeting, tax collector Lee Knight stated that Georgia is one of the most taxed states. While our taxes are low, we've got ESPLOST, SPLOST, TSPLOST, XY, and ZSPLOST, which make us in the higher tax bracket at the end of it all. I must mention Mike Lindell and his website for free speech, frankspeech.com. I'm going to beat that drum too. I don't know where we would be without him. Would you like to hear real news, uncensored from a Judeo-Christian worldview? frankspeech.com is the place. You will love Brandon House from Worldview Weekend. In case you haven't heard, Mike was given a copy of the entire November 3rd election, November 1 to the 5th. He has spent millions of dollars validating all this information. He's going to present a lawsuit to the Supreme Court in November, right before Thanksgiving. He also has a petition that he wants all of us to sign, millions of signatures. So please go to frankspeech.com and sign that petition. And then he's going to gather all those signatures and present them to the Supreme Court along with the lawsuit. Again, if we don't fix the 2020 election, we won't have a country anymore. We will never have a fair election again. These county commissioner meetings are open meetings and minutes must be recorded. As you can see on your thing, we still don't have minutes from September's meeting. According to Georgia Open Meetings, Open Records Law, Edition 7, 7th edition, page 35, the regular minutes of a meeting must be promptly recorded. The minutes must be open to public inspection once approved as official by the Board of Commissioners, local agency, or committee, but in no case later than immediately following its next regular meeting. I'd like to report that last meeting, Mr. Pierce said that he couldn't finish his business because of the pandemic. They had weekly meetings, closed door meetings with department heads, and it's so bad that they said they were considering calling in the National Guard. The meetings are closed door meetings. The public is not welcome. Hegel explained the Hegelian dialect. Here's the thesis. We create a crisis and we come back here. This is normal. They create another crisis. We're okay if we just go here. Let's create another crisis. That's the.
Sorry, ma'am, your time is passed.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I have handouts. Sidney Powell has patents on the algorithm on the machines, and so if you want any handouts, I will have them available. Also, Dr. Brian Artis has shown treatments for COVID-19 in the hospitals, and there's a lot of information that I'd like to hand out. Our people don't need to be dying in hospitals. Thank you.
Okay, next will be Mr. Doy Lively. He wants to speak on TSPLOST. Yes, sir. Be careful.
I want to thank Commissioner Paris for giving me the time today, and Jennifer Mahan for getting me on the agenda. I really appreciate this. I want to express my opposition to TSPLOST, the 1% tax increase, with the following information. Timing for the new tax could not be worse. During the past 18 months, the United States, Georgia, and Union County has suffered through a pandemic, something we have never seen before. The far-reaching effects continue to be digested and realized. Union County citizens pay 7% sales tax now. People younger than 50 have never experienced inflation like we're in now. This inflationary period will grow faster and greater for a period of time we cannot forecast. Since January of this year, prices have risen every month. Gas in January was $2.09 in Union County. It was $2.69 in March, and now it's more than $3. Mayonnaise, beef, eggs, bread, and milk, all prices have risen. So at a time when everything you buy has increased, Union County is proposing to raise the tax on food to 4%. That's a 33% increase. We haven't had 4% tax on food since 1996, when Zell Miller and the legislature took the sales tax off of food. Residents of Union County would be paying 8% on everything we buy. School supplies, clothing, tires, over-the-counter drugs, supplies for your garden, tractors, electricity, and the dinner out, just to mention a few. A $2,000 purchase at 7% would save you $20 versus 8%. Opposing TSPLOST tax increase is to realize that the people most affected are the youth in our community, young parents, single parents, and retired. If you have a job and you own property in Union County, every dollar you earn is reduced by 17.9%, could be reduced by 17.9%. 10% is the minimum IRS tax. 6% is the state tax. The average per capita tax on property owners in Union County is 1.98%. In the latest census, Union County has a population of 24,632, a 15% gain since 2010. 15% of our population is under the age of 18. 34% of our population is over the age of 65. Many on fixed income, and many are solely dependent on Social Security for their food, shelter, utilities, and needs. The poverty level in Union County is at 12%. Why another tax now? Last year, So Commissioner Parrish raised Union County property tax by 17%. He wanted 19%, but after some pushback, he settled on 17%. Remember, this increase came after all property owners had received their 2020 tax estimate, and after a 45-day property tax appeal time had expired. During this same period, Commissioner Parrish announced spending money in the amount of over $1.5 million on 2 real estate deals. Using the numbers, Commissioner Parrish has used $150,000 for resurfacing roads, $300,000 for new roads. This amount would have resurfaced 10 miles of roads and paved 5 miles of new roads. When the TSPLOST is up for vote, 2 figures have been mentioned as property tax offsets. In one conversation, Commissioner Parrish says $1.5 million would go back for property tax offset. In the same program, approximately 45 days later, he said $1 million would go back to property tax release. Which is it? Remember, it can be whatever Commissioner Parrish decides to be. It could be 0. Also, Commissioner Parrish has said 30 to 40% of all tax will come from outside patrons. What is it? 30%? 40%? Where's this calculation coming from? A couple of years back, I had several times asked within the county for the impact on Lake Nottely had on the Union County economy. No one could help me. I couldn't get an answer. At that time, I was working with the TVA on possible grants for Lake Nottely improvements, and this information would have been greatly helpful. No one had any input, but now 30 to 40% of sales tax is from outside the county. If you know how sales taxes are reported, you know this is very hard to track. Each merchant in each county files a monthly or quarterly report to the state. The report and the sales tax money collected go to the state. The state then sends each county their due portion, with the county not knowing what portion is from outside impact. After 20 years of leadership, the road conditions are in so bad shape, we need a new tax? No. It's time to focus on existing resources, on making our roads safer, and not a new tax. Thank you for your time, and vote no on TSPLOST.
Next will be Josie Paisley, and yours is on vaccine mandates, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, come on up.
I'll be brief. Lori was thorough, and she managed to cover a lot of the topics I initially planned to discuss, so I'll reserve some of mine for the Q&A session. I appreciate the chance to talk. Thank you.
Speak up a little bit, please.
Okay, no problem. I appreciate the chance to chit-chat, and it's more of a public service announcement. We've all seen the COVID-19 vaccine mandates destroy municipalities around the country, so this isn't something that I'm saying is here. Rather, it's not something we want to get, we want to come here, okay? So it's something we need to address as a community and we need to be aware of. Now, there are a lot of laws that cover vaccines. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, though I did practice medicine in my past life when I was in the Army. So I do understand some of the medicine stuff they're talking about. I'm pretty good with studies and data, and I'm not gonna bore you to death with all that today. I would like to read to you guys a small select passage from the Nuremberg Code, and all I'm asking you to do is consider it. And if this feels like or sounds like something you feel like is being applied to members of our community against their will, start researching and start getting involved locally, okay? The voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. This means that the person involved should have legal capacity to give consent, should be so situated as to be able to exercise free power of choice without the intervention of any element of force, fraud, deceit, duress, overreaching, or other ulterior form of constraint or coercion, as in if you lose your job. Sorry, I added that part. And should have sufficient knowledge and comprehension of the elements of the subject matter involved as to enable them to make an understanding and enlightened decision. Right? The mandates are a bad thing. They're not law. I'm not criticizing you. If you've taken the vaccine, that's between you and your doctor. I respect it. But for those of us who don't want the vaccine and see it as a health risk, this is important. Okay? The Nuremberg Code was the basis for human rights abuse. Like, we cannot ignore that. And that's all I'm asking you to consider. Again, I'll reserve most of my questions for the Q&A session, but please go home, research, invite some other folks to come out to these meetings. We meet out in head of the parking lot. We meet, before the meetings. We meet after the meetings. If you guys would like to chit chat with us, we'd love to get to know you. But the vaccine mandates are here, and they're a real problem. Okay, we see what's happening in Australia, New Zealand, all across Western nations as a whole. Clearly, they want to bring that here. We're not going to get into Fauci and all that stuff. I mean, whatever. The bottom line is, a lot of our institutions have lost a lot of credibility. And it's going to be up to us to get together as a community and do the research and decide for ourselves how we want to handle it. So I'll leave it at that. Again, Lori, thank you. You covered most of my topics. So like I said, I'll reserve the rest of it for the Q&A session.
Last thing, because of time, I'm gonna keep my comments very short. We are discussing the possibility with the building inspection office of adding and deciding on the impact fees, how they will be set up, what we will do with them, how at what stage they kick in. It's pretty complicated the way the building permit fees are set up. They're set up through the state of Georgia, and they're complicated. But that's something that we're gonna be looking at and working on as we move forward. And also, we're looking at increased business license fees for cabin rentals. And they're currently at $10, I think $10 for ever. And we're looking at raising those to $100 a year for those fees. So these are all things that we're gonna be looking at as far as revenue increases. At this time, the public part of the business meeting is adjourned, and I will open it up to public comments, questions. And I'll be answering the questions as well as I can, and if I can't, something we'll move on to. So, yes, ma'am. Do you have a question?
Yes, I have a little bit of a statement and then some questions with it.
Okay. Well, this is a question and answer session. In order to make a statement, you had to sign up for
the
this.
question so that you understand.
Okay.
A TSPLOST or SPLOST should actually have an exacting what we're using it for, not a generalization. We as the public would like to know exactly what it is, and we'd like to see a start and a beginning to that project. It would make us feel a lot more comfortable. We don't need to have an and or a what or maybe or could be. In some of the comments that have been coming up with the TSPLOST, it says the county can use TSPLOST funds towards road department salaries, benefits, and operations. But in Georgia, it says you can't use that. And this came off of one of the websites from the county. This was back a while back. So I wanna be assured, because when we went to vote on the TSPLOST, it's a very general, here it is, and we can do a $10 million bond. It doesn't say exactly what that's for. So I wanna be assured that we're not gonna use it for salaries, benefits, and operations, that it's actually going to go to the physical fixing of the roads that were in your list. Then the other question I have on top of that, once I get assured of this, is why couldn't, with the intersection by the hospital, which is, everybody understands that's a very dangerous intersection, why in the course of things, when we expanded offices in that area, expanded the people that come and rescue you, we've expanded their building, why didn't we require those people, those businesses, the hospital and all those companies that are building in there to put a share aside for fixing that intersection? Because either way they go out of there, it's dangerous. They go up the hill and down by the farmer's market, it's horrible up there, it's horrible coming out on that intersection. The cost for fixing that intersection, which is supposed to be part of the TSPLOST, should have been put back on these enterprises, Airland or whoever's running the hospital now. So I wanna find
Okay.
out.
Excuse me, ma'am. We've got a lot of people in here that want to ask questions, so I'm gonna limit it to
Okay,
one
what-
question, and once I've
okay,
answered that.
then why can't we do a special district for that hospital? So assure me that we're not gonna use TSPLOST for department salaries and benefits, and tell me why we can't do a special district, a special hospital district where those companies that are building in there are part of the tax instead of putting the burden on all the people in the
Okay, I'm gonna choose one to answer right now, and that is that our hospital is the utmost important facility in the county other than our road infrastructure. And whatever we can do as a county government, we try to work with them, whether it be paving roads, whether it be buying them ambulances, anything we can do to work with the hospital where we can afford it, something they can afford, that's what we're gonna be doing, because the hospital is not owned by Erlanger, and it's not owned by Gainesville, it's owned by people in Union County. And it's controlled by people in Union County, and that's the way we wanna keep it. Because once Erlanger or Atlanta or one of those companies comes in and takes over your hospital operation, you've lost all control forever. And so our goal is to make sure that Union General Hospital is protected for all of us, because that is our lifeline here in Union County.
But can't we do like a TADS or a SID for that area?
Who's gonna pay it? It's all the hospital. It's all the hospital and the doctors that work and live there.
Offices.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you know.
Okay.
They can afford it in most cases more than we can afford it, so
Well, that's,
my personal opinion.
okay. Yes, sir.
Laura, I'm gonna have to contradict you on your statement about, Union General Hospital. Union General Hospital is a private organization that is chartered under the Secretary of State's office. They should be able, because they have a lease agreement with the county, they should be able to fund their own needs and the county not be important to them. And secondly, I wanna thank these people for being here and having an opportunity to voice their concerns in the county. And especially Mr. Noah Lively, the research that he has done on bringing forth the true information and the facts and how TSPLOST and the property taxes have actually affected the citizens here and the residents in Union County. You mentioned impact.
Wait, this is not a time to stand up and talk. It's a time to ask questions. If you got a question,
Well, I'll ask you a question.
make that statement, and then we'll go on to someone else, because we got a lot of people to cover.
All right, you mentioned impact fees. Now, the impact fees, how are they gonna be imposed? Because I understand that you have to have a comprehensive plan, which you do not have an approved comprehensive plan to support impact fees. That is my question.
We do not require to have a comprehensive plan to support impact fees.
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you. You already spoke? Yes, ma'am.
I've come across a really interesting document. I don't know if you've seen this. It's from quite a long time ago. It's regarding the TSPLOST in 2013. And in this, because I like to go back and see history, what's gone on, I'm wondering if you can tell me, because I'm not sure if this is accurate, it might not be, but it's basically spelling out that there was to be I guess it was voter notice was for $2 million to put towards jail renovation and expansion, and that ended up being scrapped. A solid waste transfer station, which we're now dealing with now, an issue with that, was to be taken care of. I think it says in here for $800,000 was put to that, and then nothing got done with that. We were supposed to have a livestock arena, and this is all stuff that was regarding the 2013, what was voted on there, a livestock arena, and that got scrapped. And then it goes on and on and on. There's a whole bunch of stuff that was supposed to be done in the 2013, what was voted on there, that all got scrapped and used for other things. And I'm wondering, is that accurate?
It's accurate in one way, and the other way is totally inaccurate.
Okay, can you tell me?
The reason is that we as a county government, when we put something out, whether it be a TSPLOST, a SPLOST, we have guidelines that we're required to go by. We have a consultant that we go by that reviews all of our SPLOST. When some of the things that have been put in the paper lately state some of the items that you're stating, that they were illegally changed out from one item to another, it's just totally inaccurate. Because at the time, you gotta realize the SPLOST starts, you start working on a SPLOST usually 1 to 2 years before it ever even starts. So it's a 5-year SPLOST, you're planning for 2 years in front of that. And so you plan as the best you can, but there's no way that you can plan 7 years out and decide that everything you're gonna put in that plan is gonna be needed at the time that it's actually done. So in this case, for an example, the jail, at one time the jail was way overcrowded. Then that overcrowding let up some, and the decision was made that we didn't need to build a jail now. Let's wait until we know that there's no other option to do.
But we still paid that. But the citizens still paid that.
That's just one of the options. So, and it's the same in most of those things. If we changed a project is because, number one, we had the legal right to change that project, and we had the moral right to do it to save the citizens money on not building something just because it was written down.
But
that's
they
not
still
needed.
paid the money though in the SPLOST. So did
No,
you give the money
The
back?
money in the SPLOST went to other things that were all legitimate and legal, and all I'm telling you is several of those things that you have mentioned were not problems that we had created. There were changes that we made, and they were legal to make those changes, and we made them because it was best for our opinion. It was best for the betterment of the citizens of Union County.
So how do we know you're gonna use this for what you're saying you're gonna use it for?
We're gonna use it for what we're gonna legally use it for, because
That word is kind of bugging me right now.
TSPLOST is different than anything else. TSPLOST is roads and bridges and infrastructure with roads and bridges. Now that can include some labor. For example, if we do a contract with somebody to pave a road, there's obviously a labor charge on doing that. So yes, it might be some of the labor costs on that.
I'm starting to feel like the word legally means trickery. I'm just letting you
No,
know.
ma'am, legally and trickery, if you wanna call it trickery, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm calling it legal because
Right.
it is legal, and that's
Loophole.
what we go by. We make sure that what we do is legal.
Loopholes,
And we
okay.
spend a lot of effort to make sure that. So all the stuff you read in the paper, if you choose to believe it, that's okay, but it's not all accurate. That's all I can say. Yes, sir.
On what you just said, we voted, as this lady said, to have X, Y, Z done, but you didn't give us a chance to take that money we paid and use it for ABC. You just decided. So when we decide not to build a jail, but we're gonna go ahead and build a new Wally World, why don't we get another vote on how our money is gonna be spent?
That's okay.
You use that word legally as your scapegoat.
Well, it's a good comment, good question. However, it comes right back to what I just said. We only change a project if we can legally change that project and we feel it's better for
But
the
you're not
community.
asking the will of the people.
And I'm not gonna, we didn't build a Wally World,
I'm just using an example. You're not asking the will of the people to take my money that I gave you.
but I'm elected and the county is set here to run the county, not to come to the public on every little thing. The major things,
$1
yes.
million is not a
We
little
need to come to
thing.
the public. We need to come to the public on the major things for the money and the format, but we use the exact format that every other county uses for SPLOST. And we're gonna use the exact same thing for TSPLOST because that's what's legally required and that's what we do. If you don't agree with that, that's fine, but I'm telling you, it's legally done and we do it correctly and we put a big effort into doing that. Because again, we are responsible for the amount of money that comes in, how we spend that money, and we wanna feel good about what we've done, and we do. Okay, I'm not skipping you, sir, it's just you've already been up. Lady back in the back there? Who hadn't spoken on this side? Okay,
Lamar, when you put something in the paper, like these people say, what are we supposed to use to vote? If you tell us it's gonna be spent on one thing or another thing or whatever, it sounds like a slush fund, okay? So if you say, this is what it's gonna be used for, only roads and equipment and all that kind of stuff, that's what we're voting on. So we are gonna go into the voting booth with that information, either voting yes or no. That's all we have to go by. And then you're saying, legally, we can do whatever the heck we wanna do after those 5 years. Do you guys realize that that one little old penny raises $5 to $7 million in 5 years? That's a lot of money. And I can attest, after having a restaurant in this county, there are people that come to this county and spend money, yes. But the majority of the money is us spending it every single day. And I try to get my money local, and I don't wanna spend 8%. And you will kill the businesses of this county because people will leave this county and go to another county if it's 8%. If we use the money that we brought in wisely and did what we were supposed to, most of the roads are state roads. They're not even done by the county. There's a lot of private roads, and I know you put in there all the mileage and everything like that, but I don't think that people realize what a big deal 1 penny is. And like I said, if you would just use the money wisely, but how are we supposed to vote intelligently when what you say is not what you do? And you legally, I guess, can change anything you want because you've done it at every splosh, at every opportunity that we've had to vote and you tell us what we're voting on, and it has not turned out to be that.
Okay, I don't agree with much of what you just said, but I'm not gonna argue with you, except to say that we were able to work with you to build a new road up to your property, to widen and improve a county road up to your property. I went every way I could to stay within the legal bounds of what we could do to get that road built up to where your property is. So it's pretty disappointing that that's not, no, we're
You
done.
stood there and
We're done.
looked me right in the face, and what you said to me was, are developing 50 acres and putting 18 lots out there and going from $235 in taxes to 18 people building out there and loving and moving to this community has no value to the community. Those were your exact words. You're
Oh,
being
ma'am.
nothing to this community, so I don't know, Lamar, I mean,
Okay,
I'm just
next.
saying, we need.
So this
we need to
section
know
right
what we're
here.
voting on.
Yes, ma'am?
When I've been told that there have been some closed door meetings and that violates Sunshine State standards, and I wanna know where I can get the minutes.
Yep,
Thank you.
yes.
Minutes will be coming from Jennifer, tomorrow.
From the closed door meetings?
You talking about what minutes?
Closed door
I
meetings.
said door meetings.
Oh, we had any closed door meetings.
You said last meeting.
Yes, you
were having
did.
Closed door meetings with the Board of Health and the hospital. In fact, you were very adamant that it was none of our business.
I have it
So-
recorded if you wanna see it.
We have it on film, we recorded it, you said it.
You,
and that was-
you may have it on film, and even if I made a mistake by saying that, and I don't think I did, but I will say this, the Board of Health is an open meeting.
Oh.
Great.
It's always been an open meeting.
We asked
Now, I might have
when,
been talking about one.
we asked to
I
be
might have
there.
been- Listen,
No, that's not okay, cause you're not representing us. No, it's not okay.
Lamar, let me. Yeah,
Okay.
Hold on, just a second. I have an exceptionally good memory, okay, so just hold on.
Better than
So,
recording?
we were all talking, and you were talking, they're referring to the meetings that were about COVID, something that you said were at the fire department, everybody else. There you go, so.
totally different,
Gotcha.
totally different subject,
Gotcha.
totally
Board of Health
different
is not-
meeting.
Yeah, y'all,
I just wanna know
We
where
got
to get minutes from closed door meetings, cause you said everything is legal that you're doing. And if you leave the TSPLOST, it's say, well, that's a different, totally different thing. Well, if it's not legal, if it violates Sunshine State standards for the way you announce your meetings and the way you conduct your meetings without the public being aware, then how can I trust you in the other area?
Well, that's just not accurate. This meeting was with hospital staff, and it was a critical meeting, and it had nothing to do with the public's input or anything with that. And I was just following the guidance of this meeting that we had, but it's got nothing to do with, when y'all come back and say, thank you, Jennifer, for remembering exactly what that was, but when you come back with all these different things you're saying, like you think it's the gospel, but it's not. And if you read the paper and you read everything coming on, everything that everybody puts in there is not accurate. Do I make a statement occasionally that may be inaccurate? I'm up here ad-libbing. If you record this, which you are, and you come back to the next meeting, is it possible that I might make a statement accidentally? Because it would be accidentally. But what we're trying to do here is give you an opportunity to ask a question. I'm trying to answer the question. If you don't like the answer to the question, that's fine. There's nothing I can do about that. I may not like the question. There's nothing I'm doing about that. I'm opening it up right now. We're not gonna do it for a lot longer, but I wanna try to get around to everybody that's got a question.
Did you
Yes.
answer it?
I got an easier one.
He didn't answer it.
I've been here with Florida, we've been here for about 15 years. And when we first came up here, we loved it here. And we said, we want to retire here. What I've seen is, it seems to be growing and growing and growing into something that I don't think it was. So the question is, I'm guessing that you're the person who guides this community. So I just want to know what your thought process is. Where are we going as a community? Whereas we're trying to get bigger and bigger and bigger, we want to keep it smaller. Where do we want to go in the future? I'm guessing that you're the person that guides all this.
Okay.
So I don't know where you're coming from, that's all.
Right, and that's a good, fair and reasonable question. It may be easy to say that I guide the growth in the county. What I try to do is guide the general philosophy of what we do and how we do it. But can I control growth any more than the mayor in the city of Blairsville can control this growth in the city of Blairsville? No. We do the best we can. I know that we have people in here that want to close the gate. Well, that may be a simple thing to put, close the gate. If, you know, I'm born and raised here. Hey, there's times that there's more people when I go to town now, there's more people than I'm comfortable with sometimes. But we've got a high school full of kids and parents. Those kids need an opportunity to get a degree, to get their education here. And all of them won't be able to, but those that want to be able to live here, raise their family, live, work, and play in Union County, or we're gonna say, hey, we got enough people. We don't want any more of y'all staying here. Everybody that's in school now, y'all gotta move out of town to find you a job. Well, obviously, that's not something that's practical or something that we can do. The second thing is the workforce. We've got 600 right at, and this number, you may be able to question it. You can check with the chamber, but this number's the number I recall receiving is about 660 to 70 people are members of the Chamber of Commerce, businesses that are member of the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is working with those businesses to help them succeed in Union County. We want to close the gate and say, we don't want that business, we don't want that restaurant, we don't want that store. We're not interested.
A design around what we want to be when we grow up. It doesn't sound like we have planning in place. Now we're being asked to fund $35 million in TSPLOST that is undefined as to how that money is going to be spent. Living here, I know some very dangerous intersections, one that I myself almost caused an accident in within the last 3 weeks. It scared me to death. But I don't hear you even talking about it. Do you listen to us? We need planning. We do need to understand what's driving the growth. Why do we want that kind of growth or not? And yes, we can manage the effects of growth in this community if we proactively work together and do it. Yes. And I think we've got to stop all of this effort of just freewheeling that we do year after year after year without really a plan and a design of what we're moving to.
Amen.
We will be, and will continue to work on planning, but I know you say it's just gone on and on. Well, 5 years ago, I guess a little bit further back, but 2007, 2009 was the Great Recession. Nobody had a job. Everybody lost many people in this county lost their property.
That's history.
Well, but the history that I'm hearing from over here, that's in the paper, those are history from 2009, 10, 13. I'm sorry. I'm talking. Okay. This section over here. Anybody in this section? Yes, ma'am.
This is just a comment. This is my second meeting that I have come to. Oh, this is my second meeting that I have come to. Please help me understand. In both occasions, you have threatened people to our support. Why we cannot have a more cordial, civil communication here instead of going to threats?
Okay.
Can you help me understand that?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I will help you understand that. There's been statements put out, there's been emails sent to me, there's been things in the paper, there's been others. I've had to receive some terrible notices about how ugly I am and how I won't let anybody talk. And there's no truth to that. The meeting that we had, we stayed up here 2.5, 3 hours one night. And after that meeting was over, we just got criticized the whole time, from booing to start with to everything in between. We work hard. I hear the comment, you're the commissioner, you have to take it. No, I do not have to take disrespect. No, ma'am, you've asked your question. I do not have to take disrespect. I will not take disrespect. And we've got a gentleman or anybody else that wants to get up and disrespect me and disrespect this group by the things they're saying. I'm not going to tolerate it. It's just that simple. That's not being mean. That's not being ugly. this is a time in our country where things are tough. We have to learn to be kind to people. And this is not being kind. Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, that man spent 20 years in the military defending your right to be here.
Yes.
Okay, so he did not mean any disrespect by that. He just works real hard for his money, like all of us do, and we're watching it just get piddled away. You've got a huge building, okay? You got the Food City building that's been sitting empty for how long? I have no idea. I've heard 50 million different ways of who owns it and everything else. Why can't we get somebody in that building? Because now you got more taxes coming into your pocket rather than ours. And when you talk about Union County, I'm sorry, when you talk about Union County Hospital, we were just in a real bad accident 8 weeks ago, and we got shipped off. So please don't tell me that Union County is for the people that live here, because they shipped us off to Gainesville 2 hours after we sat in an ambulance, and then finally got put in a hallway, and then got shipped off to Gainesville. So please don't tell me that all the money that we're spending in that little corridor is gonna make all the lives of everybody that lives in Blairsville okay. And what I'm asking you is why you're buying property that we're not getting any taxes off of, but yet you're taking more taxes from us.
Okay.
It's reprehensible.
I'm sorry, that's it. I do not.
Yeah, I'm out of time.
The story you mentioned, I agree with you 100%.
Which one?
It's in the city limits of Blairsville.
Yep.
Our economic development director has worked and worked and worked, trying to find somebody that would take that store. Unfortunately, that store is owned by a company out west, and they just will not cooperate. So it's nothing I've got anything to do, but it's the city of Blairsville.
Can't we penalize them some way, shape, or form?
City of
come on, if
Blairsville,
we don't
city of
pay our
Blairsville
taxes, we put liens on our house, so
No.
can't they go ahead and do the same thing with them?
Well,
And
then
that's
you
actual-
get back to, do you want government to tell everybody what they can do with their property and when to do it? Or does this company have the right to say, hey, we think we can get a better deal, we're gonna sit and hold it? Or do we wanna say, oh, we decided we want that right now in the city of Blairsville, we want it open, so open it up. So
I'm just saying, tax
government
dollars
can't
are
do it
tax
all.
dollars.
Government can't do it all. Yes, I think right here in front, yes ma'am.
So the answer to his question about
I'm sorry.
Okay, I
This
just
is
want to
question and
make that
answer to
clear.
me.
I
You
understand
got
that.
the chance to come up here and speak.
I would like you to answer her question. That's my question, is the one she had. If anybody is gonna get money from that, any salary is gonna be paid, or any elected official is gonna get any of the money?
Absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
Salaries, benefits,
None of
and
that.
operating.
Absolutely not.
I have it right here.
I don't care what you've got. No elected official is gonna be getting money
But
from
this
TSPLOST.
isn't elected, it says county can use.
But that's
TSPLOST
was the
funds,
question.
road department,
I'm sorry, ma'am.
road
No.
department salary.
I'm sorry. She's asking the question.
I'm asking her question because you didn't answer her question. You wanted to pick one, and you picked the one that you wanted out of hers. So my question is,
Cause she had about 5 of them.
my question is her question. That's my question, about the salaries.
Your question is her question, and I
Yes,
just said,
for you to answer.
Pam, do you wanna
Okay,
talk to that?
if I can, the TSPLOST, like everything else, is not something that he just slaps something down and says, we're gonna do this. We researched this. I worked in his office. I've been there since 2005. We had to do a lot of research, about a year and a half, and get other counties' information, Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, legal advice. We do research to figure out what can we use the money on, because if we're able to generate money and make it fair across the board, that more people than just taxpayers contribute to that money, and we can accumulate the money to spend on the needs, we want to present it to the public to vote on, okay? Vote yes or no, that's all I'm saying. But the operations, the question that the lady had, and I can't remember exactly the way you phrased it, but what we found out is that TSPLOST money, in the TSPLOST money that's collected, we are allowed to use the money towards operations of the road department. That means general operations of the road department guys that are out working on the roads. We can use the money, the TSPLOST money, that everybody contributes to paying, even the people going back and forth to the casinos that live in Atlanta or Florida or wherever, when they spend money here. So we can use it on the operations for road department salaries. That's what offsets the property tax money, because right now, all the road department operations salaries and benefits are paid from the general fund. Property tax money that comes from only property tax payers. Property owners. So we are allowed to use that for the operations of the road department. No elected official will receive money from TSPLOST. That is totally not true. So does that answer the question? Because if so, I can keep going.
That's good. That answered the question.
And I would like to say, when people have questions about these things, contact our office. I am more than happy to sit down and show you what we use to do what we do. It's not him dictating what we do.
Well,
We have brains too.
that's part of the problem, is that if you see, people don't really know what to do. That's part of the problem.
Come to my office.
That's why everybody's
If you
here.
go to the county website, sorry, I'm just gonna take a moment here, because I've had a long day just like everybody else. Go to our county website, www.unioncountyga.gov. Go to the commissioner's office. Our email addresses are there. Our phone numbers are there. I'm more than happy to sit down with people. I've been here so long that I've gotten a good view of how things work in the county, not just the commissioner's office. I'm talking about fire department, 911 dispatch, road department, sheriff's office, the health department, everything that goes on in Union County, we get to know how things generally work. Without this job that I took in 2005, I wouldn't know that, and I don't expect anybody else to know it. But please ask us questions. Make an appointment, come in and sit down with me while I'm there. I'll spend an hour with you. I'll show you anything you wanna see. It's all public record. We have nothing to hide.
It's all open record.
Anything you wanna ask for, but you gotta know what you're asking for, so if you don't understand that, please come sit down and talk to us. This hate and this vengeance and this attacking people and disrespecting, I feel like I'm dealing with little kids sometimes.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, that's
No,
wrong.
excuse
Not
me.
y'all.
You
I'm
work
not
for
saying
us.
y'all. Okay, I'm just saying, respect for each other is all I'm asking, okay? He's human, I'm human, Jennifer's human, we're all human, and we all work just like everybody else in here. And we do take pride in what we do. I just wanna help people understand. And listen, we don't always agree on things, just like everybody does not agree on things, but we just do the best we can.
And that's what
Okay, excuse me. Thank you.
What is her name, so we know?
Deb,
Pam Hawkins.
please.
Pam Hawkins.
Okay. Just wanted to.
And at the big meeting that we had at the courthouse downstairs, after that meeting was over, I plainly repeated what she said about come to our office. The last two meetings we've had here, I said, if you don't understand something, come to the office, talk to us. But if your goal is to grandstand, then you're not really wanting a question or solution. But if your goal is to get information, we're there to give you that information. And so you've got to come and ask for it. You don't have to wait till meet out in the parking lot Thursday night, one time a month before the meeting to find out something. Come to us and we'll tell you what that answer is.
That's how I found out about this, though. That was really important and helpful.
We're out there, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take 3 more questions. Yes, sir.
I have a question regarding your impact fee.
Okay.
A developer, when he develops a piece of property, the roads have to be paved and they have to be paved according to your rules. We pay for the power that's put through the subdivision. We pay for the water that's installed through the subdivision. I don't really understand what your impact fee, how we are impacted.
Well, ask the gentleman right beside you because he's the one that's really pushing that
Good, may I ask
impact
you a
fee.
question?
Yeah. Ask him.
I would like to know, this gentleman here had a photo op with Mitch Griggs and also Randy Day in 2018 about the controlling the growth into the county. He made it very clear that impact fees would not be affordable to the county because it was so expensive. You need to ask him why he has changed his mind.
I'm just asking you, why you're putting this in on top of everything else?
It's something that we're just looking at. And we're looking at it, one reason, I don't wanna certainly give him too much credit, but that gentleman there has pushed it more than anybody, because that's one way of people think you can close the gate. The reason, but the reason that we have not done it that way, and we have not done the impact fee, number one, we haven't had time because we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with growth issues, so we got a lot of other things that we gotta deal with it all at the same time. But the impact fees are a way that you put additional cost on larger homes. It usually starts at a larger home and it works its way down to a smaller home. And I just met with today, I just had a meeting with building inspection people about that and what their opinion is. Would it help them to operate their office better? Would that give them revenue to operate their office more? Which would mean it wouldn't have to come out of the general fund money. And so that's just another thought and another process that the people that are anti-growth think will stop growth. If you look at Dawsonville, Georgia, anybody been to Dawsonville lately? Dawsonville started impact fees about 6 or 7 years ago. And when they did, that county exploded. Because evidently everybody thought, well, if they were good enough to put impact fees on, they must have something special going on there. So Dawson County has got so much growth right now. And if you've been over there lately and seen all that growth and continuing to grow, it's amazing. And they put impact fees out thinking that would slow down their growth. So even though I've said that's something we're looking at and we're gonna consider, it doesn't necessarily mean that's something we're gonna do. We got a lot of things to work on, as she said in the front about planning. Planning sounds good too, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do the planning, and that's something we've got to work on. And the winter time is the best time to do that, because right now we're all so busy that we just don't have time to hardly do anything. So this winter, we're gonna look at things, and same thing, if you come by the office, I'd love to sit down and talk to you to get your opinions on it. Okay, yes, ma'am?
So this gentleman's been waiting very patiently, and this gentleman's been waiting very patiently, and Joe and I have been penalized because we've been put on the agenda. We haven't been able to ask our questions first, but I would like.
Who am I missing? I didn't see him.
He's
This great big guy right there.
Oh, that thing way up here, so I can see it. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
What I'm hearing from people here and really across the country is that we want transparency from our government.
Yes.
At the beginning of this meeting, we made mention of a nondescript building project at an undisclosed location at a cost of $275,000. Now, obviously, there are clear plans because you've got a defined cost, but you're not sharing those plans with the people that elected you.
I can actually
And you
answer that
work for
question.
us.
Okay, let's let.
Sorry, we have to be very careful with that specific location because it's under the protection of the sheriff's office and city police, because there's victims there that have to be protected by law, so we can't name the place or the, address. So
Okay,
we're not
but there was
allowed.
no mention as to what the project is at all.
It's an addition because they need a bigger room for storage and conference area and things like that for their facility, because their facility's too small, and the county does own the property,
In addition to,
the building.
It's a project that actually Union and Towns County both are a part of.
I can show you the plans, I just can't tell you what the address is.
I understand.
Yeah, so it's a
So-
legit project,
And I
we have to
understand, I
protect
understand the need, especially if it's related to safe house. I understand the need for, to keep the location private. no mention as to what it was for in any way.
I know, because we've told we have to be careful. Law enforcement is the only people that know where this is, and the contractor that is working on it, knows where it is. And when we put the plans out publicly to bid in the whole state of Georgia, and it went nationwide, we specifically stated that in the project, that the senior center, here's the address. The other facility, we're gonna show you the plans, that's all we can do. Come to the pre-proposal conference or whatever, ask questions. We'll give you as much information we can to put together.
Understood, and all I'm saying is, when you present that kind of thing to the public,
Yeah.
you need to be more transparent about that, because when you make it vague sounding like that, it creates
I understand that, and I worked with them to figure out what to say. I put more words in it.
But it is vague.
They cut back what I said just a little bit, or what I wanted to say. But we're trying to be, we're trying to be totally open, and we are.
I understand the purpose. All I'm saying is, when you go to present something like that to the public, you need to make it clear as to why you're keeping such things private, so that we don't distrust you.
Well taken. Okay, one more, and then we're gonna call it.
So I wanna make so I have a question before my question. I wanna know where the policy is. I think there's a lot of people here with a lot more questions, and you are limiting us. It's only 7:15. We've come out, and I have about 5 questions, and you're telling me I can only ask one. I'm not sure which one I should ask. And Joe hasn't even been able to ask a question because we were on the agenda. I feel very penalized. When I asked you the question, you said, I will be able to ask my questions.
Ask your question.
Plural.
Ask your question. Don't worry about saying you're not getting them asked. Ask your question.
Are you a registered Democrat or a registered Republican or independent?
I'm a registered Democrat.
And I have a question about the hospital. Are you aware?
But I will also add to that I'm a juxtaposition, a different kind, which is a conservative Georgia Democrat. And laugh if you want to. It's the truth, and you know it.
No, I don't know. And these people.
Yes, ma'am.
So your statement, so you answered my question with a statement, so I'm gonna come back with a.
You can ask another question. I'm gonna give you another question.
So, table 2E, and these are the handouts, says, antiviral agent. Are you aware, because the last meeting you said you were covered with COVID problems, and David Murphy from school board, I talked with him, and he was getting ready to go to the meeting with you, the closed door meeting, and fire department, and all that stuff. Very concerned, and so I wanted to know if y'all have discussed agents that are approved under the evaluation for treatment of COVID-19. Remdesivir is approved.
Sorry, that's enough. The answer is no.
I haven't asked you my question.
Well, you have asked a question. We do not, the hospital has got somebody there that may talk details about it. Our issue is just talking about the fact that how many people are sick, how bad are they sick, how much do we need to worry about that part. But as far as discussing the type of medicines and what would I'm not a doctor, and I have no idea what any of that stuff is, so.
So there's 2 things. This, what I just mentioned, causes renal and liver toxicity. It's an adverse event.
Ma'am, there's nobody here that's a doctor in this room. There may be a doctor in the room. I'm sorry to say that. But I don't know what you're talking about. And it's not an issue. So I'm gonna stop you there.
No, you're silencing her.
No, I gotta agree.
Hold on.
I gotta agree with him. He's not a doctor. He can't answer that stuff.
Well, he's having a closed door meeting.
Having a closed door meeting about health issues.
But he said he
his
hadn't,
meeting.
so.
It's not his meeting, that's the public health officials having a meeting, and he
I'm just
was
invited to
the
it.
meeting.
Okay,
He didn't
we're,
have a closed door meeting.
we're very concerned about that, so where do we go to find information about that?
About
that
what?
meeting?
Yeah, about,
Weekly meetings.
well, because important decisions are being made based on COVID. You talked about it a lot at the last meeting.
It's
And
not the county residents' job to make decisions on the medical care unless you are a trained professional and if the hospital or the fire department has said, hey, will you come in and give us some advice on this? They're not directing medical treatment.
Right, I
They're
understand,
directing
but we
philosophy.
see a lot of like social media stuff about the county, about how many deaths, and it seems like a lot of fear. So it would be really nice to know where to go find out about information to just to get rid of all the fear.
The health department.
Okay, thank you.
Public Health Department. And we try to post stuff as we can on the county website or even on my Facebook page, but we can't get that information all the time, and sometimes we can get it, and when we do, we try to post it, but when we can't, we don't.
Thank you.
So,
Are there any
I think that
there?
if you would understand that we're not trying to hide anything, instead, and come in here with that attitude that, hey, they're just a bunch of crazy people that's trying to run around us and over us and through us, that's just simply not true. We are trying to get information, needed information to you, and she's told you how you can get more information. I've told you how I may not be at the office every day. I may not be able to see you every day because I see people all day long. I was out 3 different roads all over the county today, trying to look at road issues today. So we're trying to do what it takes to operate this county, keep you and the public as safe as possible with the lowest amount of cost. And that's our goal, and that's what we're trying to do. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Again, you know if you need more questions, but we're not gonna stay, no ma'am. I am gonna come back to you.
We're good.
So I'll do you and then we're done.
No, it's already been answered.
What?
It's already been answered.
Okay, good.
I have just one quick.
Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry.
It's off topic, it's about illegals.
About measles?
Illegals. Are we aware of the, government bringing any illegal residents into our community, into Union County? Because I understand.
Illegal residents?
Illegal aliens.
Oh,
Which they have in Murphy, and that's why I was asking, they've dropped 45 people off into Murphy, so I was just wondering if you're aware of.
I'm not aware of any of that.
Yeah, that was just a.
Okay.
Surprise.
Okay, thank y'all very much for coming, and again, you know how to get hold of us. So if you got something else, just ask us. Thank you.